Everybody just gather around. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai ro'eh lo echzar binodeh sheyad bitzeini ami menuchot yenahaleni. Nafshi yeshovev yancheni b'magelei Zedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech begeit tzal mavet lo ira ra ki ata himadi. Shiftecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni. Taroch lefanai shulchan neged tzorirai. Dishanta bashemen roshi kosi revaya. Ach tov chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai. V'shavti beveit Adonai leorech yamim. O Lord, what are we that you should regard us? We are like a breath. Our days are like a passing shadow. They are like a dream. Like grass which is renewed in the morning it flourishes, in the evening it fades and withers. The years of our life are few. Their pride is but toil. They are soon gone and we fly away. So teach us to number our days, that we may get a heart of wisdom. Guard the innocent and behold the upright. For there is posterity for a person of peace. Surely God will redeem my soul. The Lord redeems the souls of his servants. None of those who take refuge in God will be condemned. The dust returns to the earth as it was, but the spirit returns to God who gave it. It's with sadness that we're gathered here today to bid farewell to Harry Garfinkel. On a personal note, I have known Harry and the family for over 50 years. Harry was a very good friend to our family, and especially a good friend to my late father. The two of them were kindred spirits. They would sneak away every Tuesday afternoon just across the street over here to play golf at the Kildonan golf course. And Harry had a very special place in my heart as well. And it became solidified about 10 years ago when he was very instrumental in bringing me to the Talmud Torah synagogue for the high holidays. And there was a moment during those holidays that our two souls became intertwined. It was Yom Kippur, and I spoke about the Haftarah of Yom Kippur, which it just so happened that Harry had read that morning. And as I spoke, I could see that his eyes lit up. The subject of my talk was about religious integrity and how God despises those who look the part but don't play the part, and how our outward actions are meaningless if they're not backed up by our inner goodness. In short, how God wants people of integrity. At the end of the service, he gave me a big yasher koach, and he told me how much he enjoyed my speech, and he agreed with every single word. Now that was quite an accomplishment. For Harry, he always liked a good argument. To be on the same page with him was not an easy accomplishment, and I considered that to be a great privilege. But that episode also told me a lot about Harry as a person. He was a person of integrity. What you saw is what you got. He feared no one, and he always spoke the truth. he disliked the holier-than-thou attitude. 2 weeks ago, I called Harry on the telephone just to schmooze, and he was so happy to receive my call. We had a great conversation, and then he asked me, why couldn't we get good kosher meat in Winnipeg? That was Harry. He was a straight shooter. Harry was also very dedicated to Yiddishkeit. He loved to discuss matters of religion. He loved a good discussion about the Parsha. He was very involved in the Talmud Torah Shul. In fact, he was one of the pillars in keeping it alive, and Jewish life in Winnipeg was extremely important to him. Judaism is a religion of fighters. The first Jew, Avraham Avinu, was a fighter. He defied all the odds. He left his home, his country, traveled to a new land. On arrival, he was met with famine. His wife was taken from him on 2 occasions. He fought against mighty kings to free his nephew Lot. The rabbis even tell us that he survived the fiery furnace of his arch enemy Nimrod. That was Avram. He persevered, he never gave up, and he was a fighter. Harry was much the same. He was a strong and proud man. He insisted on his independence unto his last day. He worked hard building his practice as a pharmacist, and he was respected by everyone that he met. And most of all, he was dedicated to his family, to his children, Sandra, Rochelle, and Elliot, and to his grandchildren who loved and respected him dearly. And most of all, to his wife. He stood by her side, caring for her to her last day, and now I am sure that they are both joined in heaven. Harry, rest in peace. You lived a full and rewarding life. Those who you have left behind can look back with pride at your accomplishments. You left them a model to emulate. May your memory be blessed. Tiyeh nishmato tzrura b'tzor ha'chaim. May your soul be bound in the everlasting bond of life, and may we all say Amen. I'd like to call on Simon for the first eulogy. Grandson Simon.
Thank you. My Zeta was hard of hearing, and he always disliked not being able to hear speeches at functions and of our Torahs, so we've printed some off and handed them out, so for anyone who may also be hard of hearing can follow along. Perfect. And I'm delivering this eulogy on behalf of the grandchildren, Jeremy, Avery, Isadora, Michaela, and myself. My Zeta lived an incredible life, not just because of his own personal accomplishments, but because of what he contributed to our family and the way he made everyone around him feel. There's so much we'll remember about Zeta. I hope to honor him with some of our fondest memories and shed light on some of the things that stood out to us as his grandchildren and family. My Zeta was our biggest fan, and that was most obviously demonstrated in his attendance at all of our sporting events. He loved watching his grandkids play the sports they loved, whether it was gymnastics, basketball, soccer, or hunkering down in an ice-cold arena. Zeta took true joy in cheering us on. When I was on the bench at a hockey game, I could always look across the ice and see my Zeta in his bright blue jacket, watching intently with a smile on his face. However, I wouldn't need to see him to know he was at my games, because it was pretty hard to miss the bugle and cowbell that he brought to each and every game. He rang that cowbell with pride. In grade 12, my Zeta didn't miss a single game of my hockey season, where we went on to win the city championships. I like to think my Zeta had something to do with that. There's a great picture of my Zeta and me with him holding that trophy. That trophy was as much his as it was my team's. Our Zeta would also not miss an opportunity to attend any of our bar bat mitzvahs, and even travel to Vancouver to attend Isadora and Avery's bat mitzvahs. Our Zeta's passion for sports wasn't limited to him simply being a fan. He had his own set of athletic endeavors to be quite proud of too. One of the most notable features of Zeta's home on Macadam Avenue was his do-it-yourself home gym. The gym consisted of an antique and manual treadmill and other workout gear that he fashioned, having foraged the components from Value Village on Seniors Tuesdays, and a smattering of other household objects. Every day, if not multiple times a day, Zeta would head to the basement for hours to get his workout in. Family members would offer to bring in a highly experienced personal trainer. He refused and insisted he knew better than any trained professional and would continue to go at it his own way, a theme that certainly ran consistent through much of his life. On the subject of athletics, my Zeta was also a formidable golfer, baseball player, lawn bowler, curler, and ping pong player. Well into his mid-90s, he could give any of us a run for our money in a game of ping pong. When Michaela passed her final accounting exam, there was a big celebration at her office, which our Zeta attended proudly. He was excited to see that there was a ping pong table there and made sure to challenge some drunk accountants to a game or two. They didn't know what hit them. Our Zeta's prowess wasn't just physical. Mentally, he was incredibly sharp too. His cognition and memory hardly impacted after his 98 golden years. If you mentioned any past president or prime minister, he could tell you the notable highlights of their time in office, which wars they were involved in, what treaties they signed, and whether they were good or bad to the Jews. He could tell you the entire history of World War I, from start to finish, without taking a breath, and could get into debates with just about anyone about whether Louis Riel was a good guy or a bad guy. Don't worry, we could save the debate for another day. Zeta could recite purchase prices of stocks he bought in the 80s, as well as their current market values in any given moment. He was always consulting with his advisors regarding new IPOs and the like. And just as Zeta was passionate about exercising his body, Zeta loved to keep his brain working. Zeta ardently followed current events and was an avid reader of the Globe, the Free Press, and he loved to discuss his latest whodunit novel or some complex book he was reading about ancient Jewish tradition. He was a constant and curious learner. He also kept his brain sharp by chatting on the phone. He was a reliable phone call and an intent listener, and loved chatting with anyone who called him. Especially during the pandemic, these phone calls were a solace for us. His mastery of the written word didn't stop him from making up his own words every time we played Scrabble, though. Most of the time we'd give him the points, just happy to be able to play with Zeta. One of our Zeta's beautiful and hilarious quirks was that he was always singing. He had a song for everything, even occasions that didn't necessarily warrant a song. He would spontaneously break out into tune in his loud, outrageously off and key, and dare I say, screechy voice. When we didn't sing along, he'd ask, "What, you don't know this one?" Surprised that not everyone knew the esoteric 40s Jewish camp song he was singing. It always made us laugh. His unique rendition of Shalom Aleichem that he would sing at the Shabbat table with his signature accompanying dance moves. This was a family favorite, and we had the gift of hearing it just last Friday, not dreaming it to be our last, a memory to cherish. My Zeta was resourceful, always able to fix things around the house, and could find creative solutions to most any problem. Calling a plumber or an electrician was simply not an option. The notorious walking stick that he crafted was actually an adapted broomstick that he adorned with tape for the handle and jerry-rigged an ice pick on the bottom for better traction on his winter walks. He refused to use a cane. Canes were for old people. He could always figure out how to solve a problem. When Zeta didn't know how to set up a printer to connect with his iPad, he took out a book from the library about setting up computers. While a man of diverse talents and interests, Zedek was happiest sitting in his chair, surrounded by family, or watching the Jets play. His mood always improved by a good Jets win, and his mood soured slightly by a rough loss. On the night before he passed, he had a few sips of his favorite whiskey and was able to watch an exciting 8-4 Jets win against the New Jersey Devils. We know he died happy. Our Zedek was an incredible person that no speech can completely capture. We will carry his model, his spirit and energy, and his zest for life wherever we go. Thank you.
And I'm going to call on Harry's son Elliot for the second eulogy.
My dad was going to be 99 on March 17th. Even at 98 3/4, he led a full, meaningful, and independent life. He was a going concern, to say the least. He was inquisitive, thoughtful, present, and ready for a heated debate on almost any subject. He loved to tell the story how he built his house on Macadam Avenue. He designed it with an architect, he picked the best materials, and he understood the construction. He ensured that the vision of the house was truly multi-generational. There was a granny suite for my Baba that eventually became the home for our cousins, Jeff and Barb, when they lived in Winnipeg. His home was his castle. As hard as we tried to have him move south, move closer to us, or move into a smaller house, he was having no part of it. It was just not an option. My dad's chosen profession was a pharmacist, but he was so much more than that. He demonstrated the meaning of creating a healthy and effective partnership, as he and my Uncle Dave shared duties at Minyan Drugs. They worked together as a dynamic duo, never fighting, never disagreeing, or letting differences or opinions ever get in the way. He created a sense of welcoming in his store by how he ran the lunch counter soda bar as a place just to hang out. He was the trendy corner coffee shop long before Starbucks. He was a mentor and a confidant to many of his junior staff who started with him as delivery boys. Many of these boys grew up to be successful professionals and also my dad's golfing buddies. Dad always said that his life began when he married my mom. He met her on a blind date. The story goes that my mom was open to blind dates, but she was very discriminating. She checked him out ahead of time. My dad wasn't the first option, but apparently the preferred option. Mom and Dad were married for 57 years. My mom was the core of his life. He adored her and admired her and loved her with all his heart. There are no words to describe his devotion he showed to her during her battle with Alzheimer's. He was her primary caregiver, her advocate, and her protector. His patience with her was unsurpassed. And it was only because of him that she was able to live at home with dignity and having the best care possible. After my mom died, my father kept a beautiful photo of her on the kitchen counter. He felt he needed her by his side every single day. My dad was devoted to his faith and was a committed and practicing Jew all his life. He was instrumental in building the Talmud Torah synagogue and advocated for maintaining Jewish institutions in the North End. Although his synagogue attendance lessened and his faith was shaken after my mom died, he still enjoyed debating the weekly parsha and of course, putting his own spin on it. My dad was so proud of his 3 children and 5 grandchildren. He was keenly interested in each grandchild, their careers, their interests, their partners, and their stories. A phone call with Zedek was never short or superficial. He asked them questions, he cared about their answers, and he remembered every detail. His memory was phenomenal. He never ceased to amaze us. Although he was so stubborn, his arguments were always supported by facts and figures. He was always well-read, well-researched, and any opinion of his was an informed opinion. His opinion mattered to us. We respected his opinion. He would challenge Andrea on her PhD dissertation, argued with Michaela and Simon on law and accounting practices. He researched Max's health more than his doctors, pestered Avery on a wedding date, debated with Isadora on the efficiency of prescription drugs. And Jeremy and Zedek, well, those 2 were just best friends. He inspired us by being so active and positive well into his 90s. In 2017, he suffered a fall and resultant brain injury, which would have been devastating to most. In typical Harry fashion, with perseverance and a lot of hard work, he made a full recovery, showing all of us a model of true resilience and grit. He had so much love, appreciation, and interest for his caregivers, Carmen, Eileen, and Claire. Since the pandemic, he was confined to the house, and his circle was smaller. He was so fortunate to have these remarkable women who humored him, offered companionship, participated in Dad's home Zumba classes, and on one occasion was roped into changing light bulbs. They will forever hold a place in our hearts, and we cannot thank them enough for being there when we could not. My dad had a tenacity that served him well. He thought creatively, and in many ways was way ahead of his time, from home gyms to patient advocacy. He taught us to fight staunchly for principles and for the people that we love. He drew such enormous joy from his grandchildren as they did from him in return. We are all so lucky to have had him in our lives, and for as long as we did. He was a father, grandfather, father-in-law, uncle, friend, mentor, debate partner, and all-around stellar role model. His passing leaves a crater in our hearts, and we will miss him every day.
The greatest act of kindness that we can perform is called chesed shel emet, kindness of truth. And it's the type of kindness that we get nothing in return. It's the kindness that we do to a person who's passed away. We do it just simply for the fact that we're doing a good deed for the individual. The last act of kindness that we can perform for Harry is to fill in his grave. One of the rabbis in the Talmud said, "Those who love me in my life, let them take care of me in my death." And this is the very last act that we can do. Who better to do it than all of us here to fill in the grave? It's a little difficult with the cold weather, but we're going to try to do our best. There are shovels here. Everyone can try to take a certain type of when you finish with the shovel, don't hand it to the next person, just put it down. The next person will take it, and then we'll continue on from there. So we'll just step up, everyone.
Thank you. Okay. You take our honey. Thank you. We'll talk about it. Yeah. Just wanted to. Yeah. More about the.
Yeah.
Okay.
An honor. What an incredible dad. I met him once, but he was incredible. Yeah.
From
Is Mary coming back, or you'll go back there? Okay. And you'll stay in the house? Yes, yeah. We're going to Minyan. Right. But, yeah, I'm on the catavan. The group, we'll figure it out. Are you sick? Not really. Yeah. Okay. I'm not here all week. I was supposed to come in, but I was coming in with Tuesday. We had like Shaarey, but I and oh, you it was good. And I didn't have a cell phone. No. Yeah. I know. It's like, Jazz Baker, my cousin. Yeah.
Is that Jeff?
Yeah.
Looks cool.
It looks cool. Kevin. That's Kevin. Joel. Did you guys say it? Yeah, you said hi. Joel?
That's your hand? It's been a few years, Kevin. That's your hand. Yeah. Somebody's got to die for you to come to Winnipeg. I don't blame you. Especially at this time of year.
I know. Kind of sunny. Apparently it's snowing in Vancouver.
Really, we have not.
Snowing. The rain is... No, this is no.
What is this?
Destroying my will be gone tomorrow.
November 11th, 2012. Say, it's in Hebrew, right? Not in
Okay.
English.
No, remember? That's at the bottom.
Oh, Jody's in the blue. Jody, yeah, I think he's afraid to say Hebrew.
I thought that was you, but it wasn't 100% sure.
Kevin. Okay, good. Jeff.
Yeah, these are my ravens.
You'll come to the house after.
Yeah, I gotta go home and take some clothes off.
Only 3. I got like 5.
Oh, that's Howie. There was a...
We just want to go see our parents and our parents, the cemetery. Do you think we can drive us? Because I don't want to come back to home right now. You can just sit in your car. I'll go back to there.
I'll drop you there next time. So how long
Yeah. Okay, so we just get you two sisters here. Sandra and Rochelle,
Oh, there.
do you have the Kaddish?
No. I kind of know it off by heart. You have the Kaddish?
I have one.
I know most. I can never get through. I know it except for the part that my mouth doesn't get around.
We'll do it together. Thank you, everybody. I think that Harry would have been very proud at the effort that we all just made to fill in his grave, and especially in this kind of weather. So thank you, everybody. A big yasher koach. We're just going to have now the memorial prayer, and then the family will say Kaddish. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Ashchina, B'malot Kedoshim Utehorim, Kezoar Harakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Tzvi Ben Eliezer Vedova Shalach Leolamo Bavur She'anu Mitpalim Bad Askarat Nishmato Began Eden Tehe Menuchato Lachen Balarachamim Yastiro Besetek Knafav Lolamim Bitzror Achayim et Nishmato Adonai Hu Nachalato V'tanuach B'shalom al Mishkavo V'nomar Amen. God full of mercy, who dwells on high, grant perfect rest and peace beneath the sheltering wings of your divine presence to the soul of Tzvi ben Eliezer and Doba, who has gone to his eternal resting place. We will give charity and offer prayers in memory of his soul. May his soul be in paradise. Master of mercy, protect him forever. Bring him under the shelter of your wings. Let his soul be bound up in the eternal bond of life. May the Lord be his possession. May he rest peacefully. And let us say, Amen. Shir lamalot Esayanai larim an yavo Ezri meim Adonai Yoseh shamayim va'aretz Al yitein lamot raglecha yanum shomerecha Hinei lo yanu velo yishan shomer Yisrael Adonai shomerecha Adonai tzilecha al yad yeminecha Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka V'yareach balayla Adonai shmorcha mikol ha'ishmot nafshecha Adonai shmot tzidcha avoecha me'ata v'yad olam. The mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabah Be'almadi berach hirutei B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei techol beit Yisrael Ba'agala uv'izman kariv imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabah mevarach L'olam u'lalmei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei V'itadar v'itale v'italal Shemei dekutsha berichu Le'ela minkol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran ba'alima v'imru Amen. Yehei shlam araba min shemaya V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav Hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. We now have an obligation to comfort the mourners. So what I'm going to ask is that we just make two lines here, two parallel lines that the mourners can walk right in between, and then we will comfort the mourners. Okay. So the entire family just here. And then you just walk straight to me. I'm going to stay. Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna try my best.